So you've got to stay in the present if you're Grillo now.
He has been perfect from that range this week. 8 years since his last win, and 8 years was more than enough for Grillo.
And for Colonial, an era ended today. A new era begins next year. Can't wait to see it all brand new again.
I think this is going to be one of the biggest transformations from a golf course that is now to what it will be.
At the end of the day, our goal is to make a golf course that looks and feels old, that feels original, and ultimately will play as the original architects intended it to.
It's almost shocking, to be honest with you. I mean, I remember talking to Gil about timelines. He goes, if it was his way, he'd have had 18 months, and he had less than 11.
Morning, Eddie, Kevin.
Morning. Good morning. Good morning, guys.
You can go ahead and get those valves in, because that water, that's where that square is, that's not moving.
Okay. So
If there's anything on this front side that we need to pick up, we'll take it out.
We always wake up at just before 5 to be here by 6 o'clock, 6:15.
We all meet at 6:30. Caveman Construction, LeBar Construction, Heritage, Links Construction, go over what we're doing for the day, what we need to get done for the day, where we're going to be at. So trying to just make sure that we're not crossing paths too much, we're not getting each other's way, so we get everything accomplished and we're not creating more work for each other.
Can we make it into that new 12-inch basin?
Yeah, we'll have to pick up that back
By the
corner.
tree.
If we have fall from there to here, we can go that way.
Yeah.
And of course, no plans are perfect. And we just take it from there. Whatever we need to tackle and change along the way, we will. Terminas con tu hermano, porque Nativa está ocupada. Tú terminas con tu hermano, sacas el pasto y empiezan, Antonio, empiezan a demoler el 8. El mix para allá y la grava para allá. Todo.
Once we get going, there's just questions that pop up through the day. Taking phone calls, trucks delivering material, just making sure that I'm not holding anything up and we can answer questions or get anything solved that we need to make sure the project keeps moving forward.
Hydronics, what do you think, hydronics?
We're going to cut that area out.
So that's still happening?
Cut those two pieces out of that, and then we already have it set. The manifold, just pop in and you guys will be ready to go.
Another busy day?
Yeah. Construction's about a 5-month project. All the heavy lifting's done at the beginning. Greens deadline is September 1st. Sod down throughout the golf course. Ideally October 1. Punch list hopefully by November 1. And then kind of hunker down for winter. We have some freezes that tend to come through here, so make sure we're getting the grass ready to withstand winter. It's all going to be real young, and then hopefully set it up to come out of spring as best as possible. Once we get going in spring, make sure we're getting everything grown in, finished up, kind of details, and ready to go for the tournament and into May.
One of the things that Marvin Leonard was dedicated to when he founded Colonial was to provide a wonderful test of golf and a wonderful reason to come to Fort Worth. I mean, he was so proud of this area and so proud of its history and its roots, and he wanted to show that off.
I think this is going to be one of the biggest transformations from a golf course that is now to what it will be. I think the par 3s are going to be our biggest, most dramatic change. You know, 4 doesn't change a whole lot, but 8, 13, and 16 are going to be significantly different. I think overall the look of the golf course is going to stand out, and then naturalizing the entire property rather than that concrete channel that we saw the ball roll down won't be there. And I think that'll probably be our most dramatic area of changes in that back corner of the property, creating a more natural golf course back in that area. Trying to create a golf course in conditions that everyone's going to be happy and proud of, and takes this golf course back to the 40s era where it was this great golf course and we had the best par 3s in the world. I think we'll get pretty close.
The time frame is short. Everybody knows that. You know when you need to start, and you can't stop. You have to go, because everything is right behind you. We probably have about 35 guys now, and more on the way. And we do the moving of dirt so we can make room for Caveman's team and their equipment to go between hole by hole and do their work. So we're basically opening ground for them and then closing ground behind them as well.
De aquí lo pueden poner a 1.5 de hondo.
It's just a process, slowly, prepping for Mr. Gil. We want to be ready for him whenever he's on site.
So this is a big storm drain area. All the water from up above the property, TCU, residential areas south of here that drain all through our property. I think it was in the 80s, this was all big concrete walls, rock walls, and then the concrete channel all the way through to a turning basin over by the beginning of 18 fairway, 17 green area. We're coming back in and removing part of that to try and naturalize and get it back to a small waterway within a grass floodplain area and get that hardscape off the property, the in-play areas. So we're trying to widen everything. Right now it wants to hit an area, take a 90-degree turn left, and then another 90-degree turn out of here. So we're trying to soften those edges, allow water to flow a little more freely through this area. We know we'll always have flooding issues just by where we're at in relation to the neighborhood, the river. But we're trying to reduce the frequency of those flooding events. So by doing this, we're trying to allow more area for water to go to. Say we get 4 or 5 events a year, hopefully we turn that into a 5-year, maybe a 10-year flood event. So protect our investment and our features, screens, bunkers a little bit more than what they are now.
14 green. We got hydronics set in place, just getting ready to start hydronics testings into our manifolds. And then we should be ready to start putting mix on the greens and calling them good. So hydronics is just to help control temperature below the mixed layer. I mean, it can be slightly warmer or colder, just by putting hot water or cold water in there. When it gets too hot, might be able to relieve that. When it gets too cold, might be able to relieve the cold.
It's a tool that allows us to get through those tough summers and allow us to grow a cool season grass in a pretty difficult transition zone area of Texas. We have pretty large HVAC chillers that will cool the water to, I think the set point's 43 degrees. Pump that cold water all the way to the greens, through manifolds, through all the tubing and the greens, and then that cold air will come up through the root zone and essentially create a fake growing environment for grass, and you're trying to trick the grass when it's 110, 115 degrees outside.
The mix will be added to it, and those hoses will be under that mix. I mean, carefully placing it in place. And after that, we just finish raking them, and the architects will be able to put a final float, and then should be ready for seed or whatever the next process will be. Ready for grass, basically. That's the finishing touches.
I've been assigned the task to help the contractors install these precision air parts. This is where we hook up, so this would be the high side of the green right here. This is where we'll hook up our portable HVAC systems to then push air through the green right here, all through this 6-inch PVC pipe that you can see exposed right here. This is where it tees up and then connects to drainage tile that runs throughout the whole green, and then feeds out and connects to the fairway drainage that will drain all the way down to the pond that's over here. So this will give us the opportunity to kind of control the moisture level of our greens and kind of provide air and be able to suck moisture out. It really helps us keep great playing conditions when we have rain and weather and stuff, helps us dry up quick. If you guys want to look at this, you have a little like gate valve right here. So this, we have the ability to close and shut. So some guys think of it as like a reverse flush kind of, so you can fill it up, release it, and then it's kind of like flushing a green that way. So that'll be pretty nice.
This is a Leica laser scanner. We work with GreenScan to create a digital profile of the green that we'll use later on with surveying tools to essentially rebuild the green exactly the way it is. What we do is we set up control points that you can see with the little ball over there. Those points tell us in space where we're at when we start to set up the surveying equipment. We'll come in here and we'll demolish the green and take it down to whatever elevation that's desired. And then we build it back layer by layer, and each layer is exactly contoured with essentially what you get as a finished product. It's really changing the way that architects are operating these days, and it really gives us control to do everything exactly the way that we want it and build it back to exactly the specifications that we're looking for. Now the scan's been done, we're going to download it, and then we'll put it on the USB stick, and then I'll ship it off to GreenScan. They'll edit the information for us and return it in a format that we can load it into Total Station.
The original architects, John Breedemus and then Perry Maxwell, when he followed along, thought about trying to keep the features lower to the ground and maximizing whatever topography they had on the site. So this restoration embraces that thought process. The construction methodology, the process through there, we're working very closely with the club and with the engineers on that, and we're getting pretty close to having it knocked out. The restoration of those features is truly exciting. Getting the greens back down on the ground is also an exciting aspect of this, trying to get the golf course to look a little bit more like the golf course that Mr. Hogan played when he was here in the original design of the golf course. Combine all of those things, and I think we're going to bring the qualities of this site back to the forefront, but we're also going to enhance the playability of the golf course. Our goal is to make a golf course that looks and feels old, that feels original, and ultimately will play as the original architects intended it to. When I'm on site, we generally get together, have a little construction meeting in the morning, a lot of shaping, a lot of walking, looking around. We've got great guys out here. They understand the process, they understand the quality of the product we're trying to produce, so we're very comfortable with their leadership here. Because it's been so hot, try to do flagging of fairway and grassing lines in the morning time before it gets unbearable, and then jump in the air-conditioned Bulldozer in the afternoon and just get into some shaping. Trying to set these flags about 20 feet apart. It gives the ability to visualize where the ground is going to go and how these flags are going to sit in there and where the grassing lines are going to be. It's a good way for an architect to get his steps in. Here at Colonial, trying to work with basically 25 to 30 yard wide fairways, So kind of pace things across, trying to get everything set up. Gives us a point to work our next fairway lines too. So that was about 26 here on number 7. Also got to take into account all these trees because they're overhanging. We don't want to get you in the fairway with a tree in your way. So that tends to tighten things up a little bit more. This little fall off here is one of the cool things about Colonial. If you avoid that bunker and you overcook it a little bit, this thing's just going to take you into the rough and put you underneath the trees. Just super subtle, but very impactful and meaningful. That's why I think this is such a thoughtful golf course. You got to think about, do you really want to push it up here past this and take this into play even though you don't see it, or do you stay back? So a lot of choices for the players out here just based on the subtle ground movement. Not a lot of golf architects get in machinery and do their own shaping, but that's how I learned. I mean, I've had the good fortune to work for Tom Doak for 3.5 years. Tom worked for Pete Dye. Pete taught all his guys that, you know, you needed to get in a piece of equipment. You needed to understand how to build a golf course before you could design one. Honestly, it's the best part of the job. I mean, it really is. You get to basically put on music, listen to that, kind of get locked into your own world. And then, you know, the creative process can be extended for a longer period of time. But when you're operating the equipment and you're in charge of wherever that goes, if you don't like what you've shaped, you make a change. And it's just your time and a little bit of diesel fuel, but it's basically, you know, the opportunity to extend that design window as far as it can.
On the third green, we're just putting it back together to the original shape, subgrade, to start from 0 to finish before seating. Everything is built to 16 inches of material, 4 of gravel and 12 of greens mix. So it's basically completed now. It's ready for drainage.
Drainage is in, so now 4 inches of rock layer. So essentially we're using a total station with that scan that we had gotten back from being processed with the laser. And essentially we just set it at 4 inches and it'll contour as it goes. Santos over here is running the total station for us. And then when he's looking at that, it's giving him a cut and a fill reading. So he's putting numbers on the rocks like a -1, -5, whatever it is. And that's kind of indicating to his other guys how much to take off. So once we're within range where we want it to be, then he'll just put a point, and then that's good. Then we'll just move back from that. And then if we need a little bit of extra, then they just throw a little bit of extra there and takes care of it. So then that way it's exactly 4 inches, contoured, exactly how the green will be built.
So what we saw on 3 was just the subgrade before the drainage, before the gravel layer, and now you can see Hydronics before the greens mix install. So these guys are getting ready to start bringing mix and installing that. Yeah, this one has already drainage, gravel layer, Hydronics. 3 steps, and then mix. So 7 green is stage 4. So that's where we have the greens mix installed already on top of the Hydronics. The guys are adding water, and we use an excavator to compact the mix as much as possible. We get it to grade, and then we walk away for irrigation install. That way, irrigation can be installed following our grade of the green. Not too high, not too low. It's a busy process between adding mix, bringing the mix over, compacting it, adding water. It's about half a day or so. Another half a day just to get it to grade. That'll be it for stage 4. So 11 green on stage 5. This is the final prep work that we got to do to the green before it's ready for seed. They're just using the robotic total station. That unit can replicate everything from 0, from subgrade, like on stage 1, to stage 5, which is this, measuring the depth of our greens mix to 12 inches, following the shape that the green had before. So then once they finish this green, it's ready to for seed and for the final shaping around the green itself.
I currently oversee the project for both Gil and Jim. We kind of more or less do quality control as well as shaping and make design decisions in the field. So it's a pretty dynamic job and it's a lot of fun. I think the green's good, Antonio. I think what we might do is just check with the laser that that is going off and out, and then we should be good for sod. So we've got the sod that comes in, it's a little bit thicker, so we're just trying to ensure that the grades on the green match the grades in the surround seamlessly. So we've gone through and we've keyed everything in. Now we're just checking the exits on the greens to make sure that everything comes off. And then we're going through and just finding just little anomalies in the scan where you might have a slight, a little bird bath. So we're just going through to make sure that, the green flows seamlessly across the collar and makes its way out to either a catch basin or, in this case, the pond. So the final surface that Rich, the superintendent, gets is flawless. In this case, behind us, we've actually added, 10 to 15 feet of pinnable space in the front, which will be quite exciting for tournament and stuff like that. Now you've got a pin right up front where you've got a bit of a false front too, so it's pretty neat.
August, since last time you guys were here, it seems years ago. We were finishing up construction on the back nine, sodded that out, and then we're kind of making our way through the front nine and over into that area. Ended up seeding greens September 1st through the 7th. Once we had all our sod down and grass, or let's say 95% of the grass in, by our October sod date, it was trying to grow as much grass and get seams shut in before winter hit. The winter was okay. It wasn't too extreme. We dipped down really cold for 4 or 5 days, which affected us a little bit. We went completely dormant in January, February. Had a little bit of a heat wave in February, and then went more normal spring, and we're probably a little bit cooler than normal right now. We're greened up, but we're not really growing enough, so Our rough is kind of one of those things that usually comes in late, that last week or two leading up into the event to really get that rough up and growing. I'd rather be lucky on the front end in the golf course construction and have that ready and have to struggle through the back end. But, the clock's ticking and we're losing time quick, so we got a lot of concrete going down and finishing up these little out-of-the-way areas, button up before people show up.
It's amazingly satisfying to be here now and seeing the whole thing come together.
Seeing it today for the first time after about a month and a half, and you're standing on a 16th green and it's perfect. I mean, I wish I had a ball and a putter now just to kind of hit a few.
To see the greens, I mean, they are immaculate. I mean, to be in that great condition at this point in time, and if we get a little bit of heat, we feel like we're going to get the fairways and the rough right where we want them to be. So, to my eye, I'm really very, very pleased with all the things we've altered, the way the greens set in, the way they tie into the bunkers, really, I think, beautifully. The presentation of the bunkering, we're really excited about. The flash sand with much more natural edge to them. Some of the islands in the bunkers as they were originally presented.
They always talked about pictures from 1941 U.S. Open. That was his vision, and that's what he wanted to see happen, and you can see it. I mean, you can see the natural flowing creek that's running through the middle of the Barranca, the grasses.
Having talked to Marty Leonard, the founder, Marvin Leonard's daughter, she was almost overcome with emotion when she saw this golf course being restored back to the way it was. And her memories as a young girl being out here. And so when you get that kind of validation, it's incredibly gratifying.
I knew they were looking at restoring this golf course, and when I was asked to be a part of it, I'm honored, flattered, to be honest with you. My role, I guess, was to really talk about, from a tour player standpoint, on how the golf course is played, how we want to see it played, what we don't want to see done. And Gil was very open to that. We were able to sit down and talk to him about what we wanted to see and make sure that we kept this golf course the way it was. Because a lot of players I talked to pretty much says don't touch it. They love it. They love coming here and playing it. And we talked about, are you going to change any greens? Are you going to come in and put your design into them? Because last week what we wanted was him to come in and change this golf course up, and I was at ease after an hour sitting there talking to him. And yeah, we were skeptical, obviously, but he won me over very quickly. I had a great time talking to him. I came out and watched him when they were moving dirt. So to see Gil in a bulldozer and really working on it, that just shows you his love and his passion. This is one of the few holes they redid totally. Most of them are still the same. But this one hole redo of this number 8 is spectacular. From the green being way to the right, from about 195 yards, to now the green pushed to the left side up against the Barranca, the natural creek they have installed now. It makes it even that much more of a picturesque hole. You got the 3 bunkers surrounding the green now. I always thought number 8 didn't really fit this golf course. But now with everything restored and the way he did the bunkering, more natural looking, bunkers are more shallow, not so much cookie cutter look. You're gonna see that this hole fits so perfectly up against this ravine. I'm now in the back left corner over this left bunker they put in, and it's gonna set up for a draw shot. That's the only shot you can hit here. You got a tree overhanging a little bit, and they put this pin on the left side. And as you can tell, most guys that make that mistake and hit it left, one hop and your ball's gone. I mean, you're making bogey, if not 5. So this is going to be one of the more risk-reward pin placements, that's for sure, if you want to take it on. If not, the way the green is sloped, you can play it to the right portion of the green and use the slopes that they put into this green to allow the ball to release and get close to the hole on this left side. Yeah, this is one of the biggest changes, and I think one of the best changes they made. The biggest thing Gil did was restoring it back to what it looked like back in 1941. I'm on the middle of the tee box here, which is one big tee box now. So they've got so many options on where to put the tee box each time. What you'll see up here on the green is pretty dramatic. They lifted the green up about 6 feet and pushed it back into the slope a little bit. I think it's probably going to be more of a demanding shot than before. I mean, obviously no water's in play, but what people don't realize, water was never in play. They said there were 6 balls total in the water last year. So I think with the bunkers now, you're going to see guys having to really focus more on hitting a good shot here. Just to give you a little idea on how dramatic they did, right about here is where the green was at. So we're this much lower, to what you see now, how the green was so much more raised off the water here. One thing unique about this green now is what you're going to see. There's a little mounting here and there, but you got a right portion of the green, which is going to be one of your smaller landing areas. But this new back slope, which they put in to deepen this green, can cause havoc, because if the pin's on the left side and you miss it right, you're dealing with one of the more harder putts. I mean, as you can see how much higher it is. I mean, I'm sitting at the top of the slope, and it's the ball here is going to, it's either going to go this way, right or left, or back towards the front of the green. So you can actually play somewhat conservative and utilize this area of the green to get a ball close to either the right side of the green or the left side, depending on where the pin placement is. I think it's going to make for some entertaining golf. The unique thing about what we did here was just with the shifting the green left. Missing it left now is a very big no-no. But now you got a small drop off to the right. It won't go in the water, but you're sitting in a low area with a difficult pitch shot to a green that runs right to left and downhill. So pretty similar shot to what we used to hit in years past, but the green's not as severe as it was. Plus now, obviously, no more bunkers, but knowing that you cannot hit it left anymore here, it's going to make for a pretty good, difficult shot, I think. This used to be like a concrete creek, if you want to call it. But it came in, took out the bunkers on this left side, and pushed this green up left against this barranca. And you're going to see visually a more natural flowing stream. I think it just made this hole that much more special, more picturesque. Going up 17 fairway, right of 18 fairway, restoring it to its natural beauty. So a lot of what Gil did was he lasered the greens and tried to put them back to what they were before. Over time, the green on 16 was getting way too severe, and I think he softened it up a little bit, but he still kept the green design to what it was, with the, the right part being a little higher. You got a low area on the front right portion, and now with it running off into the little short game pitch area, he kept the green what it was, and that's what I was happy to see.
I think it's exceeded everyone's expectations. We haven't had, obviously, anyone come out and play it yet, but overall, I mean, everyone is extremely excited with the changes and how the golf course looks, and definitely want to get out here and play sooner rather than later.
I've been sending pictures to Scotty and Jordan today already, so I've sent a picture of a few of the holes, and hopefully we can get on it here in about a week or so before the tournament kicks off and get a little extra round in.
When the guys tee it up here on Thursday of tournament week, I think there's going to be a ton of pride, number one, in all the efforts and everything that the team put into getting this thing ready.
I think the thing I'm most proud of is the team we put together and how well we work together, and the amount of work and the level of work that we accomplished in such a short time.
I think you all asked me a while ago, what keeps you up at night, and it was this tournament. Everybody said, oh, you have a year to get it done. Well, actually, you don't. We had 10 weeks to get the greens done so we could get them grassed in time for the tournament. thinking about that schedule and the time and the energy it took from our contractors, LeBar Golf and Heritage Golf Links and Rich McIntosh and his team, Josh McFadden, who led our team out here. Is there some relief? Yes, but I think we kind of knew about end of September that we were going to hit the mark. But those 3 or 4 months prior to that, everybody was pulling in the same direction, but we weren't sure we were going to cross the finish line.
It's almost shocking, to be honest with you. I mean, I remember talking to Gil when we first met, walking around and talking about timelines. He goes, if it was his way, he'd had 18 months, and he had less than 11. Since the day the tournament was over back in May, and we could play today.
It was a Herculean effort. I don't want to try and make it sound like we cured cancer or anything, but it was a lot of work, and it was a lot to try and get it ready. So that's what's going to hit me. I mean, it's obviously love watching these guys play golf and love watching them tackle the challenges we've put in front of them, but I think it's going to be on a more personal level, just along the lines of a thank you to all the members of the team who got it done.
The Colonial membership should be very, very thankful. I know I am blessed at this golf course and what we're going to have to play. I think guys are in for a treat. I think Charles Schwab, the fans, I think they're going to see a beautiful golf course, a golf course that's going to be challenging, and the tour's going to love it.